In the world of stuff that you shove into your grinder, there is every man and his dog trying to sell you some different U-Butte thing. One thing that I've never used before is the diamond bladed cutting disc for steel. So when the chance came along to have a go at one of these, I jumped at it and I thought I'd put it through some few tests, see whether this bad boy here is something that will make its way into my toolkit. So when I first take it out of the packet, I realised it's the same as like a carbide to a drop saw blade that you use for steel and that, except for it's got obviously diamonds embedded on it. So the three main things that I want to test with this is the speed, the sound, and the dust. So generally with these type of discs, there's a few pros and there's a few cons that go along with them. I can test out a few of these, see whether they make a significant difference, and some of the others you just have to make up for your mind for yourself, whether it's worth it or whether it's not. As far as test materials, I try to keep them well within the range of stuff this disc claims it's to be sold for, and then one stress test of a Chungus piece of metal. Now honestly, before I begin, I do see a lot of people just using their safety squints when grinding. Please throw some glasses on. I see a lot of people watch a lot of videos on YouTube, and I've had metal in my eye. You don't want to go down that path. Chuck on some glasses. So for my first set of tests, I did some thin plate metals. I put some 1.6 stainless and some 2.5mm mild steel to test. Whilst cutting it, I didn't notice a huge difference, just a little bit slower, but when I actually looked at the times, we had like 3 times and 2.3 times longer of a cut. While it may only be 10 seconds here and like 8 seconds there, this time will definitely add up throughout the day. So when it came to the pipe and tube section, the 2mm thick 32mm OD square tube, they both ate through that relatively quickly. However, the composite was still a clear winner in speed. When it comes to the 4mm thick 60mm OD round speed, it really started to slow down and we started to see quite a big difference in time between the discs. For the record, so far, both of these discs are holding up pretty sweet. You know, she's alright. But the composite disc is starting to get a little bit smaller in the OD as we go on. I didn't have a whole lot of bar stock lying around, but I did have some 10mm thick, 40mm wide flat bar. She's thick enough, and some 24mm thick solid round bar, old bit of handrail, 5-finger discount sort of thing. They both cut through, but again we had a 1.8 times and a 2.4 times longer with the composite disc winning. Alright, separating the mice from the men, we have the big Chungus. Now the problem here is the Graph Black just did not perform. According to manufacturer specs, every 50 seconds of cutting you have to have a break for 10 seconds. You can't see it in the sped up video, but I was following that rule. And to give it a head start, I also had to change the composite disc halfway through. Mind you, that's the first change out I've done today. Other than that, the times are just astronomically different. It took almost 8 more minutes for this one cut alone for the diamond blade to get through this steel. It is 20mm thick, but 8 minutes is a long time to be wasting out of your day, let alone the Cobra grinder was screaming its head off, crying for mercy as she got way too hot. Now next up, I'm going to test how loud the decibels are coming out of this thing. It's no fluke, but she's quite accurate from what I can understand. The way I'm going to set this up is I'm going to set it to sit on the max range. So therefore, any noise that we make now that it's set to this, as you can see, it holds on to the loudest decibels that it caught, and it's pretty much the same as setting any meter to the max range on your fluke, on whatever. You know, let's see the peak, let's see the spike. We don't care about the intermediates, just what's the loudest we got to. For this test, I'm going to use the same 10mm bar stock. What I've tried to do is set it the same distance from the bench vise each time, so there's no excess rattling or shaking to skew the results. So the results that we got for the composite disc, they didn't surprise me at all. About 100 decibels is about right from what I've learnt. It's in the range of lawnmower or electric drills. Standing 50 meters away drops it down to like a loud conversation, or the same as a vacuum. And at that rate, you're allowed to stand near it for about 15 minutes before you really need to get out of there and get some ear protection on, Now, the 131 decibels or 130 point something decibels that we're getting from the Diamond Blade disc, insane. In the range of a jet engine or a gunshot, it's instant pain if you're not wearing ear protection, which I can attest to that. Standing 50 meters away, it will still be 96, so you're still very loud 50 meters away. Recommended exposure from this by Australian standards is 0.9 seconds during the day. 0.9 seconds. Any more than that and you're getting damage. I did know this was louder when I was using it, but I had headphones in with over-ear muffs over the top of that, so, it wasn't perfect. But the actual results in the meter, they shook me a little bit. I was very surprised how much louder it was. I genuinely tried to keep the two situations exactly the same, give it a fair crack, and I did not expect it to be this high. One thing to remember is I have not calibrated this meter, but from what I know, it's pretty accurate. That does not mean it's been calibrated in, proper circumstances. One thing I know for sure, and how, decibels work, it's not just like, oh, that's 1.3 times louder. The actual, when it comes to pressure and all that damaging, that's a hell of a lot louder. It's pretty common for people to go, oh, I'm only making one quick cut and just skip earplugs with a composite disc. Do not ever do that with the Diamond Blade. That's just, you're asking for trouble. I think you're going to get instant damage. Now, when you work in the industry, a lot of places they've banned this style disc in this thickness. Not this style disc altogether, just the thickness, 1.5, 1 mil. Some places you have to have 2 mil minimum, otherwise they quite easily snap, and when they snap inside the grinder, when you cut on an edge or an angle or whatever, it comes up and it flies straight at you. Now, I can show you some gory stuff, but you can look that up yourself. One thing that's not going to happen is you're going to have to be pretty crazy to make this metal disc do that. Another big bonus people keep talking about these discs is the reduced amount of dust, and you're not breathing in the harmful dust caused from grinding. I will concede that the composite disc, obviously you are losing diameter in the composite disc when you're cutting, which obviously means you're losing composite, but you're still producing a lot of dust just from cutting itself. After one cut, I couldn't see any discernible difference. If I was to do maybe 1,000 cuts, well, I could probably weigh it on scales, but for these intents and purposes, yes, a little bit less, but no, it's still going to be dusty. So in order to decide whether I recommend this or whether I don't, give it a miss, whatever you want to call it, you have to go through the pros and cons list from the start. Do I think this disc has a place? Yes, but it's a specific place. Compared to a disc like this, especially if you're one of those cowboys who uses no guard, it's going to be a whole lot safer. There's less chance you're going to snap it in half and do yourself an artery. Now, is it going to last you to make your money back? Depends. Completely depends on what style of work you're doing. Having throwaway composite discs could outweigh having this. If every now and then you have to cut through something big and thick, it also depends on your time is money factor. How quickly, how much cutting are you doing? If you're only doing a little bit of cutting every now and then, you're probably not going to be wasting so much time cutting, therefore this will be a better option. If you always have one of these in your toolkit, you can't go wrong. Just as a spare backup blade, if you run out of composite discs, if you've broken them all, worn through them all, you still need that large outer diameter for a special job, run this disc, no worries, every day of the week. The dust to me, as I said before, it's not really a factor that I consider in this purchase. Obviously it does exist. If you're really paranoid about composite discs, it's a thing. But to me, the dust, there's still dust. It's a dusty work. Wear some dust protection if you're worried about dust. Now, if you're working in somewhere like on a roof, you got to trim some stuff on a roof every now and then. You don't want to have to carry around a pack of discs. You just want that one disc that's going to do the job and do the job all day minimum. You want this bad boy here. If you're doing all sorts of sanding in a workshop, it might be way worth your time to change your disc every now and then and have faster cuts with a composite disc. I think for anyone doing anything over the course of Rio, anything more hardcore than Rio, you want a composite disc. Anything little than that, you can get away just fine with this disc and it will last you your full 1,000 cuts. Go any bigger, that number's going to start dropping dramatically. So that's it. Basically, end of the day, working with thin shit, give it a crack. working with thick shit, give it a miss. Apart from that, it's got pluses, it's got minuses. I'm not stoked about how loud it is, and I wasn't stoked about how slow it is. But pretty cool having a disc that doesn't lose its overall diameter, and it's pretty cool how long it will last. Therefore, have it as a backup. You're never gonna lose out. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.